What if I told you one of India's greatest spin bowlers couldn't fully use his bowling arm? A boy struck by polio at 6 turned national hero by 18. This is the story of Bhagwat Chandrasekhar, the man who didn't just spin a cricket ball, he spun magic against all odds. Chandrasekhar was born on May 17, 1945, in Mysore, India. At the tender age of 6, fate dealt him a cruel hand. He was struck by polio, which left his right arm withered and weakened. Most would have seen this as the end of any sporting aspirations, but not Chandra. By age 10, he had regained enough strength to dream again, although his arm never returned to its normal state. When his family moved to Bangalore, Chandra found a cricketing home in a club called City Cricketers. He wasn't just looking for a team, he was seeking the thrill of playing with a leather ball instead of the rubber one. After experimenting with different styles, Chandra found his calling as a leg spinner, inspired by the great Australian Richie Benaud. It didn't take long for the young spinner to catch the eyes of selectors. At just 18 years old, Chandra made his Test debut against England in 1964. In that match, he grabbed 4 wickets in the first innings and another in the second. He also introduced a pattern that would follow him throughout his career. He was dismissed for a duck. With the bat, Chandra was, let's just say, modest. But with the ball, he was about to carve a legacy. Over the next 16 years and 58 Test matches, Chandra took 242 wickets, including 16 5-wicket hauls and 2 10-wicket hauls. But his story isn't about the numbers. It's about what he did with them. It's about how he became a cornerstone of the legendary Indian spin quartet, alongside EAS Prasanna, Bishan Singh Bedi, and Srinivas Venkataraghavan. What made Chandra truly unique was how he turned his disability into an advantage. His withered arm gave him hyperflexibility and a unique whip that added zip and bounce to his deliveries. His strong wrist powered deceptive googlies and venomous top spinners. He wasn't always accurate, like many leg spinners, but when he was on song, he was nearly unplayable. Even the great Sir Viv Richards once confessed, "It took me a long time to come to terms with Chandra. He was the most teasing bowler I ever had to face, and I never quite knew whether I was in charge or not." One of his most iconic moments came in 1971 at the Oval in England. Chandra ripped through the English batting lineup with figures of 6 for 38, a spell later named India's greatest bowling performance of the 20th century by Wisden. That effort helped India seal their first ever Test series win on English soil. In 1972, he was named a Wisden Cricketer of the Year. And then came 1978, Chandra's personal masterpiece. Playing against Australia, he took 6 for 52 in both innings, becoming the first player in Test history to record identical figures in both innings of a match. India won, and Chandra's legend grew. To truly understand his impact, consider this. In India's 14 Test victories during his career, Chandra took 98 wickets at an average of 19.27 and a strike rate of just 45.4. 5 of those wins came on foreign soil. That's not just effectiveness, it's match-winning brilliance. But it wasn't always smooth sailing. Between 1967 and 1971, injuries kept him away from the game, a gap that likely robbed him of even greater numbers. And then there was his batting, or rather, the absence of it. Remember that duck on debut? It was no fluke. In fact, Chandra ended his career with 242 wickets, but just 167 runs, one of only 2 players in Test history to finish with more wickets than runs. The other? New Zealand's Chris Martin. Across first-class cricket, the trend continued. 1,063 wickets, 600 runs. A true specialist in every sense. Part of the reason? His right arm, though magical for bowling, couldn't generate enough strength for batting. He even used his left hand to throw the ball in the field. In a later interview with journalist Suresh Menon, Chandra laughed off the myths surrounding his arm. "I have heard all kinds of theories about my hand, that I have no bones, that my wrist can turn around 360 degrees and so on. But the truth is this, Bhagwat Chandrasekhar didn't just defy physical limitations. He rewrote what was possible for a cricketer with a disability. He's not just an icon of Indian spin bowling, he's a symbol of perseverance, grit, and the power of believing in yourself when the world sees only limitations. So today, on his 80th birthday, we celebrate Chandra, not just the cricketer, but the inspiration. In an age where some players take the privilege of playing for granted, his story reminds us what it means to fight for every ball, every chance, and every moment in the sun. The journey of Bhagwat Chandrasekhar is not just one to remember, it's one to learn from.